Hey everybody, it's Rob from Opposable Thumbs. This is a quick video walkthrough of my project for Opposable Thumbs podcast, episode 5. I don't care, you pick. I wanted to do something that was a little bit outside my comfort zone, something I've never done before, and also something that sort of forced me to let the project sort of take some turns on its own instead of me thinking through each step. And so I decided to launch a few balloons with some different payloads. And so this pic right here is me leaving the Balloon Emporium, which is not an ad, but a kind of a cool, weird place. This is some of the materials I used. I got a small disposable camera to launch with a balloon. There's a story about that one. Those yellow cards is some cardstock I had that I used to cut up and make little postcards. And I bought a cheap pack of USB thumb drives there. And what I did with the USB thumb drives is I loaded the photos that you see now, plus a few more, onto the thumb drive to launch those. So when the thumb drives were launched in the air, the payload on the thumb drive was the photos of making of the project. So whoever maybe got the thumb drive after the balloon landed in their street or on their roof or whatever, they could sort of see what the project was all about, see me making it, and then maybe mail me back a USB drive with some stuff of their own. So this is just me using Jin's very small, old school, but very awesome paper cutter to cut the cardstock into more postcard size shape. You're going to see I'm going to fold that over. There's a bone folder right there, which we talk about on the podcast. It's a really cool little tool. This is the cards in their almost final form. You can see here, I've got a little self-addressed stamp envelope with my address in it. And then on the note, you can see I left little spots for when I launched the balloon and where, and then telling you about the USB stick and my address and stuff. So this is what will be launched with the balloon. You can see the USB stick is not in there yet, but it's going to go in that little slot. And there's the USB stick. So you can see it says this USB stick has photos I took while making this card and launching the balloon. Please add some photos of where you found the card and mail it back using the envelope I've included here. And then my address, and then also a link to the podcast and my email address. This is the camera, so I wanted to pad the camera enough to make sure that when it does fall, it didn't super whap somebody in the head or something. So I put a ton of bubble wrap around it and a little message that says "Open me." And this is one of my failing problems. I bought this giant balloon, 36-inch balloon, hoping it would lift the camera on its own, and it did not. You can see the camera is holding the balloon down quite well. So this is the little postcards at the bottom of a balloon, and it says "Open me" on one side, and it says Abrame on the back, which is "Open me" in Spanish.
Live.
3, 2, 1.
Here it goes.
No! Wow.
You want me to zoom in?
No, it's fine.
We have lost sight of the item.
See if it makes it over the hill. It's going over the hill so far. I lost sight of it. Oh, there it is. You see it? Through the trees. Here, let's come over here.
Ah,
You can zoom in if you want. I don't know if you'll catch it, but
there it is.
wow.
Fine video making work here.
That's awesome. It's going pretty far.
It's funny, I can see it in the video. Oh, okay.
So what direction is that? That was the first test launch with 2 balloons, and it was a little bit like sluggish, and I was slightly worried that with the wind was a little bit strong, so I thought I would see about using the bigger balloon to see how much more lift I would get in a stronger wind. And since the big balloon wasn't strong enough to launch the camera, and helium balloons only last about a day really, and so I needed to use them all. So I figured, well, I might as well just use the large balloon to launch one of the cards and see how much oomph it gets, and see if that makes me feel better, if I have more lift about not getting hung up in a tree or something. So this is me taking the big balloon and launching a card with that. All right, here's some more.
How many more do you want me to do? You want me to do 2?
Yeah. Here I go.
They're super tangled.
Which ones do you need?
Any 2, but they're super tangled. Like,
I can't let go of all of them, or they're all.
I'm not asking you to let go of all.
Okay.
Of them, but
We're tangled. We're tangled.
these things do not obey.
No. That one
I
is
think I
still.
just heard someone yelling about that one.
Oh, good. Maybe slightly lagged. Yeah. All right.
There's Mira. Mira.
Wow. It's cool, right?
I'm not going to be on record on a video telling you did something cool.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that launch went pretty well. I was pretty excited about how that went. The wind kind of calmed down, and so you could see they sort of took a much more nice leisurely path upward, and it was pretty neat. I've never,
Kind of surprising how.
like I said in the podcast, I've never really like thrown a glass bottle into the ocean or anything, but it was
Woohoo!
pretty calming and pretty cool to just let something
Adieu.
go out into the world and see what
Adios.
happens. So this photo is me attempting to launch the camera with about, I think it's 24, 12, sorry, balloons attached. So we'll see how that goes. It feels like it's got quite a bit of lift. You can't see here, but I'm using a stapler to weight the camera down. So there's plenty of lift, it seems like, with these 12 balloons. So this is the next weekend. So I went back to Balloon Emporium and got 12 balloons and thought like that'll definitely be enough. And I'll launch the camera on its own. Why it's so windy? Oh no! Oh no! No! So that did not go as planned. Yeah, tragic. So I mentioned this in the podcast, but I just wanted to give a super shout out to many neighbors on my street who super helped me out, risked life and limb, climbing up in very precarious ladders with various contraptions to try to get those balloons out of the tree. And a weird thing happened in that the balloons somehow fell out of the tree or came loose or something, because a few minutes later, my neighbor, my 8-year-old neighbor, knocked on the door of our house and was like, "Hey, we have your balloons." And she had been helping me before try to get them. And I know she wasn't up, but maybe she has magical powers. Like maybe she flew up into the tree and got them. That's what I'm going to choose to believe. But, so then I was like, I have these balloons, but 4 of them had popped, so I didn't have enough lift anymore. And I was like, oh, geez, the clock is ticking. I need to add more balloons to this. Like, I got to get this taken care of. So this is me coming back from Party City, which is another balloon place because the Balloon Emporium had closed. They're not open on Sunday, and so it was the next day that I was adding these balloons in. And so I went and got 24 more balloons to add to the pile to get this camera launched. So you can see now I've got about 36 balloons trying to launch this one camera. The Party City balloons were not, I think the helium to oxygen ratio was much lower from those balloons. So you can see it just barely going. And there's a tree over there. But it clears the tree. And you can see something slightly horrifying starts to happen. The balloons kind of just start going down fairly quickly. And sorry, I was slightly panicking, so I lost tracking the shot in my camera. You'll see there they are down there, really low. And I was like, oh no, I can't believe after all this, they just went like one street over. But you can see they came back, like they kind of rose back up again. I don't know if just the wind died down or what. But you can see that it's like precariously low over on my neighbor's street. But now it's starting to take off again. And so I'm not sure what happened there, if it was just wind or what. But finally the took off and are leaving the neighborhood and have started their journey somewhere else. I lost sight of them right about here, just because of the giant tree in the way. But you can see they're going pretty good there. But I was nervous that they were going to start to fall off again. But they're going pretty good. So that's it. The camera finally made it. It took 36 balloons, 12 good balloons, which then some of them popped, and then 24 kind of junky balloons to get that thing finally going. 3 balloon trips to the store. But I did it. So we'll see what happens. I created this project as part of a podcast I co-host called Opposable Thumbs. Taylor Hokinson and I invite a new guest onto each episode, and we tackle a new creative challenge and talk about our accomplishments, failures, and lessons learned. We also share tooltips and other cool stuff like that. The artist Nick Bontrager created this challenge for us in episode 4. It was called I Don't Care, You Pick, Real, Recorded, and Random Decision Making. We invited the artist Hung No to take on the challenge with us, and you can check out episode 5 of the podcast to hear how we did. Or you can subscribe at opposablepodcast.com to hear the latest challenges that we're doing. You can also check out the podcast in the iTunes or like podcast app and Overcast and all your other Stitcher, all that other good stuff. So hope you check out the podcast, and thanks for watching.